and welcome to Adapulse, the channel that brings you all the news and all the proposals that are in and around the Cardano ecosystem. Now, in this episode, it's an interview with the Profila team, and we talk about their up-and-coming project on the Cardano chain, of course, although they did get funding through Catalyst, so it is an obvious choice. But we're going to go through the problems that their project is solving. They do have an up-and-coming token sale, so there may be a good investment opportunity. This is an American platform, so I should say do your own research, but bear in mind I am from the UK and can say what the fuck I like. But there are some interesting innovations in this project regarding decentralization, so do look out for that. And at the end of the interview, we started having a chat, and so I did also want to include some of the things they said after that. So stay tuned right to the end. I'm Josh from ATM Stake Pool, and just before we dig into this, I did have a few sound issues, but I think everything's audible. But enough of that, let's get on with this. So hi, we've got the Profila team, if they'd like to introduce themselves. So first of all, we've got Luke.
Luke Bragg, in charge of products, originally from the US, but live in Switzerland.
And next we have Sean.
Hey everybody, it's Sean Jensen, South African born but living in Switzerland. I'm co-founder and CEO of Profila.
And we have Michael.
Hello, thanks for having me. Michiel Bayrou, I'm an intellectual property and technology lawyer and co-founder of Profila, living in Brussels, Belgium.
Right, so, well, welcome to Adapulse, first of all, anyway. You did a guest post on our channel, it was a few weeks ago now, yes, talking about the Profila app, which is basically a way to manage data online, which we know is a big problem. So first of all, how did you get it all? How did it all start?
Yeah, I'll jump on to that one. So it was quite a few years ago in 2015, where we had the concept for privacy online and how do you manage that, as an individual, seeing the growth of Google and Facebook and how much data they use and consume, and my background's in telecommunications, also seeing how much information is out there was a bit concerning as to the potential abuse of personal data. But from there, we grew our strategy into how do you actually build a new relationship between people and companies that want your data in the first place. So it's no good just focusing on privacy, although it's important. Many people are apathetic, and a little bit lazy to look after themselves and their data. So we really did focus on building a new relationship between companies and people.
Cool. So, but at the same time, so if I was to download the app, and yeah, so it controls my data within the app. So does it also work as an ad blocker as well?
So it's a different type of ad blocking concept. What the platform is, if I can give you the description of it, is actually what we call a new era data, but also customer engagement and marketing platform. So we've taken a bit of the concepts of Instagram, but also Salesforce, and mashed them up together. With no surveillance though, and no bad data, because you're the only one entering information into this platform. So to answer your second question, in the app, you allow a brand to see you or to access your data or to communicate to you only within your preferences. So if you invite a company to connect and they share your data or get access to your data, you can tell them that you only want to see their advertising or content once a month, once a week, or if you love them, every single hour. So that's totally up to you as an individual. The difference is, though, that it's not a social or search platform. It is very much a one-to-one new private channel between you and the companies that you want or need a relationship with. That's quite a big differentiator.
And I think kind of on top of that, our model is also about better data. I think right now, Josh, you are marketed to through often inaccurate, inauthentic, incomplete, and unethically sourced data. That's how you're marketed to right now. And our model says, well, what if you actually were the owner and complete dictator about the most accurate, authentic, and valuable information about yourself? Not just your contact information, but your sentiment about travel, about fashion, about sports, about anything, captured through self-discovery quizzes, then that's what's going to break the model. It's not just putting blockers around ads or whatever online and saying, no. Create a better data source about you brands know about that, why are they going to pay somebody else for bad data when they can pay you for good data, interact with you in a much more compliant way than they do now? Then all these other things will start dissolving away. So we're not doing a full frontal attack on the model as it is now. We're just saying, okay, we're going to forget about that, create something better. And brands, we think, when we talk to them, that they do the things they do now because that's the only options they have. Once they have a better option that their customers are going to like, that are going to give them better data, more compliance, the switch seems a natural thing for them to do. So this is really, we're in the middle. We're the relationship business, we like to say. And so we're not, Sean likes to say, people are our partners and brands are our customers. So essentially we're going to market with you for the best data there is about you, and the brands that love you can use that to market. And for them, it's marketing you smarter. If there's a whole swath of some company's product line you do not care about whatsoever, you should never hear about that from them ever again. And I would say it's not creepy because you told them. You told them, here's what I don't like, so stop sending me links to it, or ads, or offers for that. So it's really it's not trying to reform the current way of doing it. It's saying it doesn't really work. What does a better way look like?
Okay.
And a better way than an ad blocker, because companies want to send you personalized content at the right moment at the right time, and their only solution now is Google and Facebook marketing. And then an ad blocker, you stopping those ads doesn't seem like the most efficient model. So in our model, it's really you as an individual who decide which brands can send you something, via which channel, at which frequency, then based on way more accurate data. So that when you receive something, it's super contextual, super personalized, and then a brand also directly gets your feedback on what it is. In the beginning, that's very much, let's say, in-app experience, but to come back to your suggestion on what if you go to Google or other websites, we're also working on browser plugins and SDKs so that your decisions in Profila can also be enforced outside of the application.
Yeah, and actually, McKeel and I were talking last night about an idea that a plugin for an email client that basically says the email's coming in, this plugin will triage. If this is a brand that I've got a relationship with in Profila, it's going to be more prominent in my inbox because I've let this brand in. I've given them the keys, and I've said, yes, email is the way I want to be contacted. Other people may say, I want to be contacted only through the Profila app, but we won't give them that option. But the brands that do have a data relationship with me, and I'm happy with, they should be more prominent in my inbox. And the businesses who are not, I should be able to say, reply to them and say, hey, if you want to deal with me, you got to do it in Profila, because in the Profila platform, I know the expectations. I know that I'm in control. I know that I can revoke a subscription if I want to. And I know what the rules that a brand has to play by. And so I think, we've been watching articles daily for 4 years about what the problem is, but no one's really come up with a good solution. And when we think we have that.
So when it comes to data, where does the data end? I mean, can my medical information be on there and then I can just share that with my local doctor's practice, for example, and then when I move house, I take it away from that doctor and I put it to my new doctor? Is that a possibility?
You understand us very well already. Sean, I'll let you take that. You like talking.
Yeah, so it's the data challenge is a massive one, and what we don't want to do, is similar to many of the other competitors in the market, is try and get you to pool all of your data in a new place, or bring it into an environment where you then have to manage it and sell it. So in Profila, we encourage you to create the best profile of you at a light level, and then complement it more with psychographics, which is our self-discovery assessment quizzes, which actually helps you define who you are. In the future, and we've already got this architecture mapped out, is we want you to have a map though of where your data assets are. So if you know that I trust this doctor, and we've done many discussions with pharma here in Switzerland and with actual pharmacy chains in the USA around how do they manage personal data. We would rather that you trust your local doctor or you trust your local pharmacy. They look after it, but you understand what information they have. So that at any point in time, you can have a right to deletion, right to move it, or a right to use it, for your own purposes, to be able to get the best value in exchange. So we have quite a cool technology strategy behind it, which we can touch on later about, the why Cardano and how we look after the data. But the principle for us is it's your asset no matter where it is. And we're not trying to give you technical control of it. We're trying to give you more, experience control of it. Is it a nicer way of saying it? So that if you wield the strength of that data, no matter where it sits, in exchange for value from those service providers, then you're in a much better position.
Yeah, so imagine you've got a relationship in Profila with your GP for most of your data, even though maybe they're storing it, and they send you off to a specialist, and you get a little pop-up in Profila saying, would you like to give the specialist access to your most recent MRI for a period of 2 weeks, along with your basic demographics? Yes. In 2 weeks that goes away, and that's all. It's transactional. That's the need for it in that moment. You give access to it, but it's very clear when it goes away.
Another real example, just to touch on that one, because we're actually working with the company that will help us implement this, is a lot of these IoT devices are out there. Even your Nikes, can start tracking your running. That data all goes to those companies, whereas it is your asset, okay, and it is yours. In the future, we'll be able to, stream that data through your own profiler. Then you can decide, okay, I want Nike or Fitbit or whichever other company to analyze my data to give me the best service. So we really are trying to just put you in control of, this asset.
So it's really just, it's an all-encompassing me as a human being, digitize what my wants are, what my desires are, what my activities are, and then me choosing to allow people to show me things that fit into my lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah. And I think now our model, our MVP is really brands that you already kind of have a relationship with, brands you want to connect with, and brands who want to connect with you. And the second part of that is building a marketplace to say, well, I want to discover new brands. I've taken up a new hobby. How can I do that in an anonymous setting and say, okay, well, we're looking for travel opportunities. So I'm a man in Switzerland this age, and here's the insights about my travel preferences, but it's still anonymous. And then essentially matchmaking with companies that have offers for that. And these brands would say, okay, well, we know this person hates beach holidays. Let's not suggest beach holidays. And if I get offers and then decide to engage, only then do they actually know who I am. And if I decide not to, they never knew who I was. And so that ability to do that kind of discovery, and also brands being able to discover new people based on interest in ways that are difficult now without a very much spray and pray marketing approach, where they're just trying to scream their message in very noisy channels. And that's one of the things we always talk about with brands is, they're competing in your inbox, in your Instagram. They're competing in very, very noisy environments where their message is not your primary concern, which means they have to be, super engaging or just keep sending you things. And when you're in Profila, you're in the center of the universe. And the only thing you're seeing in your feed are the brands that you've let in the door. And with the cadence, with the number of communications per month, per week, per year that you decide as well, which is also something that's unprecedented. The idea that you can say, Mike, you get one offer a month. That's all you can send me. And actually have that enforced in our platform. I like to say we're going to look back and realize how dumb marketing is now, and how smart it can be if brands in a trusted environment know what you want, know how often you want it, and don't worry about anything beyond that, because they're going to make more money off of you anyway. A terrible example, but if Lego knew that I only care about Star Wars sets, and if they send me an offer once a quarter for the new big $300 sets, I buy it. They get more money from me. Now I get 3 mails a week that are completely irrelevant to me because it's stuff that I don't care about.
So before I get on to why Cardano, I want to say, why blockchain in general? Do we need the blockchain for this, or is this just a new way to market it?
So I think, since 2017 when we started the company, we saw the value, of blockchain. And I'm glad that we didn't jump in the early days, because what we did in the last 2 years is actually build out this new experience. So we have a complete platform, which allows us to do these several things. The importance of blockchain to us, though, is centered around you and your choices. So we saw a big gap in the market for, well, yes, I tell a brand that this is what I want, or I don't want them to contact me, or I want to assert a right. Where do I go to enforce that? So So what we use in the blockchain for in the first case is the immutability of every decision that you make. And putting that onto a ledger, which then you can access, a regulator can access, and the brand can actually access because they need to have an audit of, respecting your rights and decisions. So for that case, it's a very simple and very powerful and scalable record of every decision that you've made within this platform and environment. And where that scales for us is, as Luke indicated, as you get more granular in your decisions across a brand, across an industry, then those decisions also need to be logged somewhere so that you can go and enforce that and enforce your rights. So that's our primary use case for using the blockchain as a ledger. But on top of that, we've got several others, because in the platform, which we haven't made clear yet, data are never sold. Okay, it's only ever subscribed to. So you always own the asset, and a brand leases it from you effectively for a duration and a purpose. So there too, we're using smart contracts because it's normally high volume, low value transactions all around the world that we're going to be doing. So it makes sense to, on top of that, create a smart contract framework that will manage that financial transaction. So for that, we've also got a token which we've introduced to the platform, which we'll be able to use to incentivize people's behavior, because we split our revenues 50-50 with individuals and up to 80%, depending on which other options you take for staking your tokens and so on with us.
Okay. And then moving further, so obviously you received funding through the Catalyst side of it on Cardano. Apart from money, is there any other reason why you choose Cardano as opposed to any other chain?
Yeah, I think I'll start and then Mathilde will carry on because he's center in our community there. We initially got introduced to Cardano by Mihaela Uliu, who runs their impact projects for IOG. She's been working with us as friendly advisors since 2017, and we love the principles of their research-based approach. Our first 2 years of the company was all research. We worked with CERN in their privacy department around what the future of privacy looks like. Profila was actually on the Sir Berners-Lee contract for the web. We sat with Facebook and Germany and French governments in actually defining some of that new contract. And everything that Cardano tries to represent, we liked as far as principles and research-based deliverables. So that was cool. Every blockchain's got its pros and cons, but we believe the mission behind the company will help them achieve our goals specifically, technically. But then Mathilde, the next part you'll take over was the community just loves what we do. So Mathilde.
Yeah, so a prime reason for going to Catalyst is of getting funding for decentralizing some of our existing features. So in our road to decentralization, we're actually applying throughout proposals 5, 6, 7, and now 8 different features in our app and then decentralizing them. And so we've gotten just very good feedback of the community. So not only in terms of just feedback on the proposal draft, but just in general, I get a lot of people from the community contacting me about the project, saying that they very much like it. And I think that there is, like Sean mentioned, you can use a lot of blockchains, but in Cardano, this community feeling is just huge. If I contact somebody that I met once, they'll directly put me into contact with people that they know, they'll help me with an NFT project where now we're partnering up with somebody. It's like there's a great willingness to participate on each other's projects, even though it's a bit of a competitive environment because everybody's going after the same cash. And then all of these initiatives, I've been doing the Catalyst boot camp. I'm every 2 weeks on these coordinator calls. And it feels like this huge startup accelerator where everybody's sharing knowledge and expertise. And so, yeah, I think it's a very cool environment for us to learn how to use blockchain for our solution.
It's kind of like discovering a band right before they go mainstream. That feeling of yeah, there's a community around it, and we're early adopters and such, and it's a great vibe. And we feel as deeper in it, but I feel it in some of the things we're doing. So.
I mean, it's interesting you say the community is one of the things that drew you in, but I mean, because that's something that a lot of people say. It is an all welcoming community, but I'm surprised you didn't mention because you're going to have your own token, which is your zero knowledge.
Zero knowledge token, yeah.
Yes, sorry, zero. So it's going to be Zeke token or ZKT, which obviously creating that on the Cardano blockchain is as easy as anything. Probably easier than any other chain, I'm guessing. So what's the use of this token? How is it going to be used? I assume it's a governance token of some sort?
Yeah, so it's many utilities. One part will definitely be governance, because we're actually coining the term DMAR, which is short for decentralized marketing. So we're creating the first decentralized marketing platform, definitely on Cardano, and even maybe outside. And so in the future, this is an app designed for people. Even we say designed for people delivered to brands, but it's really designed for people. So we want people's involvement. We want the community and each individual to also decide which new features we're going to have inside of the app and how it's going to function, because it's actually built for them. So there will be some governance features linked to being a token owner. There will also be some rewards for initially funding us, of course. And then we have we use it as a medium of exchange of our payment. So maybe important to mention, each dollar that a company spends to get access to customer data or to deliver ads, we split 50-50 with the people that are actually watching the ads. And so if you have a fiat payout, it's 50% that you get, and if you get the token, if you choose tokens as a payout, it's up to 70 or 80%. And then last one that Sean also mentioned, we have a bit of a gamified process of self-discovery through category quizzes. And so it's actually gamified in levels where each level that you go higher, let's say you become a level 5 eco-friendly traveler, you become way more interesting for specific brands. And so the higher you actually go in levels, the better your offers for products and services get. And so you can use the token as well to unlock different categories and
yeah, so essentially we're building a new data economy, and Zeke is the coin of the realm. And the example I gave you earlier about putting an avatar in a marketplace for a new hobby, you probably pay a very small fee to keep on a monthly basis to keep that in the marketplace. You'll be able to take it off when you're going to go on holiday or something. So every feature we're thinking about in our roadmap is, okay, what's the value prop for both sides? What should be a transaction cost? How that is it earning? Is it burning? So it's that kind of existential in how we see all of our features and where the value comes from.
So a lot of people will see as a parallel to Brave, by the way, than that. They did a great first pass of what we're trying to do for attention to content. But with Profila, it's significantly different, that it's not a walled garden approach. Like, you can only do that in their browser. But with us too, the experience is much broader. As we touched in the beginning, it's creating your profile, it's sharing that with brands, it's then being able to receive an experience from a brand, content or advertising. But then what we haven't mentioned yet too is the whole feedback loop. So there's a customer feedback loop, create content, send it to a brand with positive or negative sentiment linked to it. Getting rid of pretty much, we believe, contact centers in the future. And linked to that is also the opportunity of every piece of information you share with a brand has a monetary value linked to it. Either they're going to give you an offer back to retain you or to upsell you, or one NFT project on Catalyst is to actually convert a really good piece of digital data as an asset into an NFT at the moment, though, that a big brand actually wants to acquire it or license it from you. So there's a lot of different use cases that will build and evolve, but I think the core ones have substantial market value backing it. In where the spend and the revenue will be coming into the environment.
And that's also the cool thing about Cardano's native token functionality. So if you see how it functions in Catalyst with the voting and everything, and with the rewards, all these functionalities already exist in the native token. So the moment you create it, we can also use it for similar governance.
Following on that, we have ideas about letting token holders vote on new features, voting on the roadmap. For which features they want to see developed now. The same kind of model where the more ZQ you have, the more votes you're going to get to be able to influence that sort of thing.
I mean, you talk about there's a if I allow adverts, I get a 50-50 split on the revenue. Obviously, it's going to be a tiny amount when you think of per click on like Google or something like that. So I imagine it would be the same on this. But if it's a 50-50 split, how much percentage of your investment has come from Catalyst?
It's only about 5% in the field so far. So a lot of our funding today is angel funding. And we're busy now with a private round though, on the token, for which we're about a third of the way through. We've got some ambitions to raise, most of the capital needed for the next 24 months in the private round, and then we'll be doing a conservative launch pad in April to go public. So we are,
So is that this April?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And as you mentioned, for us, we've never ever focused, and none of our marketing will tell you that you're going to get rich out of your data. It's just not true for the bits and bytes. However, the discipline and the behavior we want to change in the future is how do you wield that data in a better way? So if you can bargain with the brand, and at that moment you're about to go on a holiday or buy a car, that's like a qualified lead, and then it could be worth $50 or $100. But in general, your data is not the value. It's what you ask for in exchange, in value products and services. That's why we call it a relationship business for sure. And we want you to benefit from, hey, I got the best pair of exclusive Nikes because I was on their premium list. They subscribed to me. They knew exactly, that I want the ones that have got the Cardano or ATM logo on it. There's a special release. That's a perfect scenario for us. Then the data itself will become valuable in the next 10 years. I mean, if we're going to be a $1 trillion purely data economy, you need to understand as an individual, how to wield this no matter where it is. And that's what we're at the start of the journey on, which we found very exciting.
Because I'm very keen on the protection of data. There's a lot of data about all of us that's out there. I think you've detailed yourself on your website and things like that. Whenever you go on a website, it's out there. So I like to use a VPN and things like that. I just like to keep things, hold tight. It's not like I've got anything to hide, but I've not necessarily got anything to share. And I think that's, the right step we should be going in. So you mentioned you got your token going on sale, in April, so that's next month. What's next for Profila?
Oh, after we've done our round and our raise, what I think I like the most about our strategy last year is we started decentralizing the platform feature by feature. And that is, linked to what you just said, is to keep us accountable and honest to the community, not only for how we protect and look after the data, but to make sure that Profila doesn't become another middle company, a middle platform in this ecosystem. Because that's how the ad tech and marketing world have normally operated. You've got the big incumbents, and they're the ones that are pilfering your data and abusing it and the privacy rights. So what we know, we've got a viable business now to be able to attract ad and data revenue. That's being proven. And post this round, we'll be making sure that our privacy controls are in place. We're distributing data globally so that you have full control. Eventually, you'll be able to have it on your own hard drive, but then linked to the overall Profila ecosystem, if that's what you choose. So that's our core focus. But on top of that, I keep telling Luke, who runs our product, is we'll be an experienced company, because we need to get that emotional attachment right to saying, hey, I want to protect this piece of data because I know next week or next month I'll be able to exchange it for something cool. Or, I need to give my doctor a little bit more information because, do I trust him or not? We want to take that feeling away. Okay, so for us, it's going to be the experience of control of privacy and then getting, a private relationship with the brand back. So it'll be heavily weighted, and I like those two parts of the business to compete. One is like saying, no, you can't do this unless, the individual has explicitly consented to that tiny piece of data moving. We'll have all those controls in place. Now, on the other side, when we speak to everyone, and we did research with also universities in Singala, and we're working with universities in Lucerne too, people want a digital experience that they are somehow in control of, and that's what we want to offer on the other side.
Okay.
And maybe an important next step is our go-to-market is B2B2C, so we're actually talking with a lot of CMOs of big companies to convince them to test our app with their existing customers, so that they give, let's say, the controls back to their existing customers instead of sending them every Monday morning the same email thread, figuring out if their conversion is better on their existing customers. So we're now signing up a large multinational hotel company who is interested to do a trial with a couple of 100,000 customers, and there we will validate what is an increase in conversion rate, how much information do people share, how active are they. That's an important milestone for us as well. It's a big priority.
So what's the potential of abuse on this platform, in the sense that can I just create a bot that will just create 1 million Profila profiles and allow all advertising and then actually create revenue that way? How do you prevent an attack like that?
Good question. So one key principle that Mathilde actually mentioned is we're a B2B2C company initially, which means a brand will invite you onto the platform in your first experience, which means they would have known that you're a customer somehow. But on that platform too, remember, we have a commercial relationship with you. So every one of our individuals on the platform as a person will have some level of KYC or AML on them, which means you have to be a known entity somehow so that we can pay you. All right. And that's going to be one protection against mass adoption by bots itself. Once you're on the app, though, and you're in the environment, we're also working with some very clever technology around engagement, so that those particular movements that you take in the app will be tracked, and we'll share that data with you and say, this behavior is not normal because you're just liking everything, or you're just answering surveys that should take 10 minutes in 1 minute. And we'll give you that data and say, is this responsible? Are you actually building a good profile for yourself? So we're looking at two elements. Technology will remove some of those barriers for us, and we're working with Cardano there on a Tala Prism, so we'll be using their digital identity platform. We're actually probably going to kick off implementation post May with the closing of the round. So all of those technologies will help, but at the same time, the only nudging we'll ever do on the platform is saying, are you being honest to yourself that this is truly your data, and that this is going to represent you out in the world. So we want to build a little bit of human trust at the same time as relying on very strong tech.
Okay, fantastic. I think it sounds a cool product. If it takes off, like I said earlier, I'm really keen on the protection of data. And not that I don't want to share it necessarily, but I think we need to move to a place where we are in full control of it, because you have people like the Facebook and Google making money off what they know about me and the information I've actually given them. Sure. So it would be good to have some control over that. Yeah, so I mean that brings us to the end. I think people got a good idea of what you're about, and hopefully with the sale coming up in April, they can join in and invest and join you on your journey. Fantastic. So thank you, Luke, Sean, and Michael.
This was fun.
Thank you very much.
So there you have it, the Profila team. They were a great, genuine bunch of guys. I have actually tested positive for COVID, so I was having troubles, but they did make it super easy for me. But their innovation on marketing, DMAR, the idea of decentralized marketing, actually blew my mind a little bit, really. I could look at the Profila app and it wouldn't be a list of spam or adverts. It will be a shopping list. These are things I actually want. Like I have a Roland synth here, but do I have the money to buy, spend thousands of pounds on a Roland TB303 so I can make acid? No. But do I want Behringer to sell me their version at a fraction of the price that does the same thing? Absolutely. And then from the company's point of view, they're only marketing themselves to people who actually want it. So they know I want that. And so they know to tell me about it. And so we both win. But enough of that. But I did promise some bonus footage at the end, since we did start talking about music and the idea of the sort of community that they want to build around Profila. But check this out.
Although you've got a turntable there, what is it? What's hooked up to it?
See, if you watch more Adapulse videos, you'll see.
One thing when I found the name Profila in 2012, I registered it actually, and I always said behind it, there's got to be some tune, which we create one day, backing vocal and
Well,
something like Will I Amish, from Profila. So it's gonna happen. Profila can be used, by creators to manage their own followers, distribute their own content. We want to get that whole groupie atmosphere back, and we'll give it away next to nothing for bands and so on to build their own community itself, and then to be able to monetize through them. So if you've got 100 followers, those are yours, not anybody else's. But yeah, thank you. It was a good call.
I might edit that bit in into the video.
We're obsessed with the music industry, and we want to lead with, what was it? There's always a use case around the best groupies in the world. There was some metal band, Megadeth, wasn't it? Or no?
Megadeth. I was a fan of Megadeth back in the day, actually.
All these books, they come out with the best example of true groupies, because the way they managed their community back then was giving awards and accolades for being the best. Send us some art and you'll get a special ticket, and that's lost now. What's cool about that, though, is instead of going to Twitter and just naming and shaming as a fan, true fans should go to the brand and say, look, you let me down, sort it out and keep me as a true fan. That's what we want to represent as well. But yeah, I'd love to reconnect and chat more about the music side and music industry on both. It would be awesome.
I look forward to a decentralized world where everything's decentralized. I want to work. Do you know what I'm saying? Where I can hop in and hop out. And that's what I like about Cardano. I hop in and I do, I have a stake pool where I hop in and I do interviews like this, or I present news. I literally do whatever I like.
You've mapped the roadmap of Profila, because the whole model that Luke mentioned around personas in the future is you're going to have your persona on that I'm a worker, or I'm a hardy bike rider, or today I'm a Megadeth fan. And that, if you want to present that profile to the world for that hour, for that day, that's exactly what we want to allow people to do, and then without repercussion. That hey, now Nike knows that I'm a Megadeth fan. What to do with that? Like, so it's totally under your control. One last thing that I'll leave you with, just on where the model will go, is we're talking about data now and so on, but your time, when it's leased out, is also data pretty much in that. How long, what purpose and duration can you use my services for? And so the whole construct that we're building, the way we decentralize and so on, will also be applicable to how you sell your services in the future through a contract. Same principle. But we're sticking with data for now, because it's the source. Okay. Cool vision.
So yeah, that was just a bit of bonus footage at the end there. The reason I added it is because we think of brands and we think of businesses and companies just wanting to sell stuff. But actually at the same time, it's bands, it's musicians, it's individuals even. And it's, that idea of creating the connection between the two, because the brands do want to connect with their fans, and definitely vice versa. But that's the end of today's episode. Now do support the Adapulse channel by liking and sharing. You can definitely comment. We definitely want to hear your comments on this one, because this is quite an interesting one. And do hit that subscribe button. And hit that subscribe button and that bell notification while you're at it as well. And you can further support us by delegating your ADA to Swag, Zod and ATM. You'll also be earning an extra drip drop bonus on those as well. But until next time, thanks for joining me.